is story time. I'll do the whole little circle thing, but it's a little hard for me to move right now. I'm sorry. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So today is Thursday. Y'all know we be turning up on Thursdays with another story time every single week here on my channel. I hope you guys are excited. No doubt, based on the title, I'm sure you guys are here to judge me. As usual, before we get into today's story time, today's glamour shot of the day is my beautiful glamazon Iyana. I think I'm pronouncing your name right, and by the way, it's a beautiful name. Thank you so much for using the hashtag glamazon shot on Instagram. You guys know, and if you don't know, with the new update on Instagram, you can actually follow hashtags. So I'm following the hashtag glamazon shot and just look at all y'all's faces. Thank you so much, Iyana, for loving me and supporting me and sending me your glamazon shot. I really appreciate it. You guys know that I would not be here without you, and I could not do this without each and every one of you guys. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now let's get into the story time. So just letting you guys know, I'm struggling just a tad with breathing. So if you guys like hear me kind of like losing my breath or taking a minute to get my thought across or to get like the story time out, I'm struggling just a little bit. I was 20 years old. Okay, yes. I was 20 years old. I was already with David, and I was working at a pretty big oil and gas company, okay? I worked at a few different ones during my time in the corporate world. This was one of the first. This was when I was like first getting my foot into the door with oil and gas in that industry, and I gained a lot of experience at this particular job. This job was legit, like right downtown, like right near Cap Hill. I literally walked to work every day. This job was definitely a step up from where I had been previously, especially with the salary. I was making really good money. A lot of you guys want to hear more about my experience in the corporate world, how I got into the corporate world, how I got my foot in the door, like, you know, my tips and tricks for that, and I am going to do that, I swear, on everything. I will be starting a series here on my channel touching base on this topic and like how to get into the corporate world, and with that I will be doing like a pros and cons video, but this video in particular is going to touch on some of the cons of working in the corporate world, and you'll see why a little later. They have different field offices, but you are at the headquarters corporate office basically. So, you know, obviously we were corporate, middle of downtown Denver. We were in this high-rise, super nice building that had scanners just to get into the elevator, very high security, very fancy, very bougie, right? I was living, okay? It's customary for you to go through a training period, which is like where you're shadowing someone else, or someone else is like, you know, taking you around the office and giving you the lay of the land, and basically going through your job duties day to day with you for the first week. Now, depending on the complexity and what your position is and how much you're taking on, sometimes that can be extended into 2 weeks. I've had 2-week trainings, have someone right here all the time, every day. You even have to have lunch with them, you know what I'm saying? And like they go over everything, right? With this particular position, I remember that my training was only a week long, and it was with this lady. She was, at the time, I was 20, and she was like, I want to say like 55 or something like that. So, you know, she was old to me, okay? No offense. At this point, I want to say that the company had been in business for like near 15 years. I want to say it was like 12 or 13 years. So she had been there for, I mean, at least a decade. She was an executive assistant. Exactly what it sounds like. She supported an executive. Like, I can't remember if it was the CFO or the COO, but like, you know, she was one of them, okay? Had her own cubicle, and like, you know, she basically was like the mom of the office pretty much. She had the most experience. She had, you know, seniority over everyone. So that was made very clear to me right off the bat. She was the person that was training me. And, you know, when you go into a corporate environment and you are being trained, you'll quickly learn basically everyone's place. Like this sense of like superiority over everybody. Like it didn't matter if you were in like accounting or whatever, because she had been there for so long. Her opinion mattered more, and she basically made herself very clear that this was her office, okay? The way that the office functioned, she was the person that pretty much came up with the procedures that were in place that everyone had carried on for years and years and years. So like, you know, respect it pretty much, right? I felt like, and this is something that you need to know if you're wanting to go into the corporate world, there's a lot of politics. You'll hear that a lot of office politics. And what they mean by that is that there's like, it's almost like a hierarchy, right? The people that matter the most, if you have a board, the board members matter the most, okay? Like everybody bows down to the board members. And then you have your executive team, your CFO, CEO, COO, right? And they're the bigwigs. They're the ones that are representing the company and that are going over financials. And there are the department heads. So like the head of accounting, the head of marketing, the head of this department, the head of that department, right? And so it goes like that. You have to learn your place. Now, going in, number one, as young as I was, in the position that I was going to be taking over, which was the receptionist, I had to come to the realization that your girl was, I was at the bottom. That was my place, right? So like that was made very clear to me as well. Like, this is what you do. You don't have no opinions. You don't go straight up to the executives and talk to them unless they talk to you first. It's very... Now, I'm not saying that every office functions this way, but I mean, I worked in a lot of offices, and when you have somebody like an administrative assistant that has been there for years, it tends to work out this way, because when you change up what they've created, they take it personal and they get offended. Like, what was wrong with what I created, and like you're coming in here and just like trying to fix what's not broken, pretty much. The thing about Teresa was that she was really nice, really informative, really helpful. However, I could tell that she was not the biggest fan of me. She would always repeat herself like, you're just the receptionist, honey. This is all you need to be doing. I have all of these jobs. Like, I deal with all of this, and they trust me with all of these duties. And like, you don't do any of this. That's my job, because you have this very simple position, right? So I was like, okay. And you know, obviously I don't want to rock the boat with somebody that's been there for like years. I just want to go there, do my job, and peace out, make my money, and leave. My training goes on for a week. Now, the job of a receptionist differs from place to place. Now, at this particular job, the receptionist had quite a bit of duties. Like, you have to open up the office. You have to be the first one there in the morning. You have to open up the front doors. You have to open up the office. And what that means is like, you make all of the coffee, you set out all of like the teas. Every morning we would get bagels or donuts delivered. You would have to like set those out, set out napkins, you know, make sure that the break rooms were clean. And then you did your rounds. I had to do my rounds, and that meant going from conference room to conference room. I want to say we had like 3 or 4. I had the whole floor. I would have to make sure that the dry erase boards were completely cleaned off, that the chairs were like perfectly centered at the table, that the table was nice and cleaned off, that wires were not just sticking out from under the table. You check your email, and you are basically the general mailbox. Are working with customers or like third parties and outsiders, they will email you. You are the first point of contact. So going through your emails, and then later on, you know, in the morning when the mail comes, then you're the person that's opening certain mail, distributing it to the right people, not opening certain mail. People really don't understand how much goes into being a receptionist, or how much goes into even being an office manager. And it's so low on like office political poll that people forget, without a receptionist or without an office manager, your office is going to run like shit. Not minuscule, but tedious tasks that the receptionist or the office manager is taking care of, and that was that was my job, okay? I became really, really good at my job, and I was really efficient, and I was able to multitask really well, and it was something that I was very, very proud of. I was quick. I was a quick learner. She had that 1 week of training with me. Literally by the end of that week, I was like, I got this. Like, I don't even need you. So everything's going great, and I feel, you know, you get into like a groove, and you know exactly what you're doing. There's no surprises in your job. You know exactly what your job is, how to do it, and I'm just like doing my shit. I'm just doing my thing, going to work 8 to 5, making my money, piecing out, having my weekends, yes, right? Fast forward about 3 months, okay? And we got new hires, and I started helping out the HR team with new hire like onboarding packets. On the front, I would customize them with like a cover sheet, and it was like, there's like this thing, I'm really getting into this. You can like bind your own books, like there's like a book binder that you can do. I would customize these like little packets for all of these new hires. On them, on the front sheet, would have each and every one of their names, first and last name, what department they were going to be in, everything like that, right? New hires come in, they come in through the main doors, which that's where I'm sitting, and I am to give them their respective packet and ask them to go sit in the lobby, and then they will be taken into like a training seminar all together and then be dispersed among their own departments. So I had made these packets, right? And there was this girl, and we will call her Tanya, all right? She was probably like 28, 29 years old. She was beautiful. She was one of those girls that had like a really short haircut, but she could really pull it off because she had beautiful features. She came in with this like badass all white suit on, and she had like this leather briefcase, and like you could tell that she was not coming there to play, okay? She was everything that I wanted to be. She was really nice, really professional, and I don't know, just something about her just caught my eye, and I was like so intrigued by her, just like her boss ass mentality, right? As the receptionist, everybody has to pass by you to get to whatever department, to get to the bathroom, to get to the break room. So the receptionist usually gets to know everybody, every single person that's coming into work. You see them. Every single person that's leaving, you see them. Great thing about being a receptionist is that you can make so many connections and so many contacts and so many friends. That's another thing about being the receptionist. You have to be on it because you're the face of the company, and like you are the first person that not only the clients see but also the actual employees see. So like I couldn't just come in and be like, hey guys, like I had to be up and at 'em, and I had to be the first one there, and I had to be the first one to be like, hey, good morning, and like, be that person. So I got to know a lot of people, Tanya included. Tanya and I ended up like this, okay? She was so funny, so intelligent. I'm telling you guys, she was literally everything that I wanted to be, like everything that I aspired to be in that moment in my life. She was that. The business didn't open until 8 a.m., but I would get there at like 7:30. She would come in a little bit early, so we'd have like a good 10-15 minutes to like just talk, and she would come to my desk because like I couldn't leave my desk for too long. She would bring me my coffee, and like sometimes she'd like bring me little treats or whatever, and she was the nicest person, right? My lunch hours had to be the same every day because someone had to cover for me. Like the receptionist desk could never be unmanned. She was like, let me take you out to lunch. And I was like, okay. We went out to lunch on the 16th Street Mall. She took me to this super fancy restaurant, and I got really close to her. She kind of like took me under her wing, right? There was drama. There's always drama in the office. Somebody is always fighting or sending passive aggressive emails or like CCing somebody that they shouldn't have been. There is never a point in time that you are going to work in an office and you don't have office drama. I'm sorry, especially if the office is majority women. Like honestly, it gets very dramatic very fast. I started seeing a pattern that Teresa was having a lot of issues with a lot of people in the office. Nobody really made any fuss about it because it's Teresa, like she's been here forever, and like everyone just kind of like shrugged it off like, oh, she's just being crazy Teresa, right? And like legit, you guys, like every week it was something. Like somebody was pissed at Teresa, or Teresa was irritating somebody, right? Fast forward like another month. If you guys have ever seen my story time, it's called A Person in the Walls, or Somebody Was in the Walls, or something like that. It was about this guy that I had met at work. I ended up house sitting for him, okay? Now keep in mind, during this time I was with David, and he knew David. He was going out of town. He needed somebody to not only house sit, but to dog sit. So he allowed me, David, and Chiquito, my dog, to stay in his house. He was only gone for like 3-4 days, but to stay in his house, watch over his house, take care of his dog. So this is that guy, and I want to say I named him Kevin or Keith or something, but I'll name him Kevin for this story. It was just, a friendly acquaintance at work. He would come in, he would stop at my desk. Everybody stopped at my desk at least for a few minutes to like chit chat, talk, or whatever. And so he was no different. When he would come in, he'd stop at my desk, talk about work, and then he would go on his way. Like it really was not like that big of a deal. By this time, I had already been there for almost a year, and everyone knew that I was in a serious serious relationship with David. And David used to come by my job every once in a while to say hi, drop off food. And like, you know, I had introduced him to Tanya. I had like a picture of David and I on my desk or whatever. So like, you know, everybody wants to know if you're single or not at work. So fast forward, I don't even know how long, but one day came around and you guys, I had gotten so sick and I was like throwing up. I had a fever, like I had the chills. I ended up going to the emergency room and it turned out that I had gotten food poisoning, right? And David was like taking care of me and I was out of work, I want to say for like 2 or 3 days. I hardly ever called in, ever, you guys. Like I hated calling into work. I talked to my supervisor, sent her my doctor's note. I had the doctor sign off on a note stating that I should not be going to work for the rest of the week. So that way they knew that I wasn't faking, right? I'm like super sick, throwing up my whole life. Like I was just like miserable. And then I went back to work that following Monday. But I kind of felt like there was something weird going on because people were like being really, I don't know, concerned about me. But I kind of just wrote it off like I've been sick and everybody must have like heard that I got sick, right? Fast forward to the next day, to Tuesday, and I was in the break room and one of my friends, she was just like a random friend in the office, she had come into the break room and I was getting myself some coffee. She kept like looking over at me all weird and I was like, what? I'm stirring in creamer or whatever. I just wanted her to stop looking at me weird. So I was like, hey, good morning. Like, what? Morning, I see you. And so she was like, oh, hey, good morning. And she was like, is this your 1 cup a day? What? Then y'all, I legit had like 3 to 4 cups of coffee per day. Like I was such a coffee addict. Everybody in the office was like that. Like you drink coffee all day. Like that's how you get through your day, right? So I was like 1 cup a day. So, you know, I just kind of laughed it off. I was like, haha, you're right. Like this is number 1 out of like 4. She looked like I just murdered somebody. And I was like, what? And she was like, you really have to cut back on your caffeine. And I was like, why? And she goes, because it could be bad for the baby. What are you talking about? The minute that like I looked confused, she backed off right away. And she was like, oh, I must have been confused. I'm sorry. She was like, Nikki, I apologize. I'm so sorry. I got you mixed up with somebody else. She retracted that statement so fast. She like gets all frazzled, retracts her statement and like leaves, and it was super awkward, right? You guys, all day everybody was treating me weird and I was just like, what is going on? Like, okay, yesterday was my first day back from being sick. They're not used to me missing work, so like asking me how I was feeling was fine, but now it's Tuesday and they're still asking me how I'm feeling. Like something was off. I hadn't seen Tanya. And she came in, you guys, and she was like not put together. She came in like really stressed out. She stopped by my desk and she was like, you and I need to talk. And I was like, okay. And she goes, I'm gonna go set down my stuff. We're gonna talk in this conference room right here. So you guys, my heart dropped. I was like, what is happening? Like something is going on. She gets herself some coffee, goes right into the conference room. She's like, come on, follow her into the conference room. And she literally grabs the door and slams it shut like she did not care. During your absence because you were sick last week, Teresa went ahead and spread it around the entire office. I heard it myself that you are pregnant, but not only are you pregnant, that you're pregnant with Kevin's child. What? Oh my god, this explains so much. Like this explains why everybody has been like all up my ass and like asking me how I'm feeling and just being all weird. And she was like, yeah, so I heard that. She goes, well, last week I was really busy. She goes, I don't know what the hell happened, but I got called into Bill's office. Bill is like one of the executives. She's like, I got called into Bill's office on Monday and he said that Teresa reported that I was constantly on my office phone taking personal calls. If it's an emergency, that's fine, but like you can't just be on there just talking, you know what I'm saying? She was like, I'm telling you, Nikki, you need to file a complaint against her. She was like, that is slander. Do you understand that? And I was like, yeah. So I'm going into so-and-so's office right now, and I wanted to invite you along with me because you and I can just write our complaints together. Here's the thing, okay? This is no small deal. When you're in the corporate world, everything is regulatory. Everything is policy and procedure. Everything is legalities, okay? You cannot be a part or be associated with any like inappropriate office talk. Call it slander in the workplace, okay? Where like what they're saying about you can affect someone's view of you and whether or not you're a liability in the workplace. The other big part is that if I was pregnant and I didn't tell my superiors, that's a problem, because they need to know right off the bat that I'm pregnant for like maternity leave and for insurance purposes and things like that. So like you cannot, it is a big fucking deal. Like that is why when you get pregnant, like people are like, here's how you tell your boss that you're pregnant, because like it can affect your career basically, right? Like not only did you say that I was pregnant, you spread it all around the office, and that's why literally everybody thinks that, but they also think that I got pregnant by Kevin. And they all see my desk with David on it. They've all met David. They've seen David. Like, I used to go to office events, you guys, like the holiday parties and stuff with David. Tanya and I go to this executive's office. It was a lady. Her name was Pam. So we go into Pam's office, and that is like the compliance officer. Her position was to make sure that everyone in the office was being compliant with HR policies. So when you wanted to file a complaint, you had to go to Pam. We were like, we want to file a formal complaint against an employee together. I'm like so upset, you guys, because here's the thing. I worked really hard not to be seen as like an irresponsible, like young, stupid girl. Like when you're trying to get into the corporate world, it's so important that you set yourself apart and that you are taken seriously, and it's really hard, like I'm not gonna lie. So for this woman, go around all of my hard work and all of the progress that I had made, and like just go around everything that I had worked so hard for, my integrity and my image in that office meant the world to me, because I'm trying to build something out of this. I need references from this place in order to get a better job elsewhere, and you could have just killed that for me. It was slanderous towards my professional image that I worked so hard to maintain in my office, okay? You guys, this could have caused the executives or like HR to be like, oh, Nikki's pregnant, well, we need to replace her right now, like before she even tells us herself and like reports that she's pregnant. It costs a lot of money to have someone on maternity leave and then get like a temp in your place because they're paying double. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it can affect your ability to keep your job. We write down our grievances, we give them to Pam. Why don't we have a meeting, you two, her superior, and Teresa, and we all figure it out together. That afternoon, Pam set up a meeting with myself, Tanya, Teresa, Teresa's direct supervisor, and Pam. So it was 5 of us, okay? 5 of us women in this conference room. And I was so embarrassed because like I had to have one of the other assistants cover for me while I went to this meeting, and everybody's like, what the hell is going on? I go to this meeting, right? Teresa was like, you know, what's going on? Like, you know, how can I be of help? Pam was like, well, you know, Nikki and Tanya have filed some grievances against you in regards to, you know, some of your slanderous statements that you've made about both of them on separate occasions that could affect their employment here. And she was like, what? I have no idea what you're talking about. So Tanya headed it up. I don't really have time for this. I have other meetings to attend this morning. She was like, so I'm going to make this very quick. She was like, you went to my direct supervisor, went over my head, and told him I was constantly taking personal phone calls on my office phone. Now, upon further review, I pulled my phone records for the last 30 days, none of which have been any phone calls outside of this office. They're all extension numbers. So I want to know what exactly you were referring to when you went over my head and went to him and reported that. Oh, I must have been mistaken. I was just worried about productivity in the office. And Tanya was like, so why not come and discuss that with me? I could have told you that you were mistaken. Why did you go to my direct supervisor and attempt to have me disciplined without even like discussing it with me? She goes, I'm not here to find an answer out of you. I'm telling you that this is going to stop. This is not the first time that you have slandered people in the workplace for your own benefit, and that you are constantly going around to other people's superiors, false reports, and I'm over it and I'm tired of it, and we are going to rectify that today. Pam looked at me and she was like, Nikki, you can take the floor. And I was like, you know, honestly, Teresa, I don't really have a whole lot to say to you. I was like, I'm extremely disappointed in your behavior, and coming from somebody as young as I am, that should be shameful for you. I don't even know how it was any of your business why I was missing work. You are not my superior. I said, so you took it upon yourself to make up a story that originated from you, that I was pregnant with Kevin's child, and everyone just got super tense, and it wasn't true. It was hurtful, and it could have cost me my job. She was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. She couldn't even finish that sentence before Tanya jumped all over her. She goes, do not lie. I sit right next to you. I overheard your conversation with you telling every single person that Nikki was out last week sick because she was pregnant, and you knew that it was Kevin's child. She just got red. I was like, really, Teresa? That's what you're doing with your time? I said, you're over here talking about efficiency and effectiveness in the workplace, and you're using your time to gossip and slander me when I'm not here because I'm just out sick. I can't be sick without you coming up with some crazy ludicrous story that could cost me my job. You guys, she didn't have shit to say. So Pam closed the meeting and was like, okay, myself and Teresa's superior will now have our own meeting to discuss the disciplinary action for Teresa. We appreciate all of your time, right? So like, we left without any answers. Teresa was in trouble, basically. I go back to my desk and like everyone's just being super weird, and now I feel like I have to correct everyone, like, hey, I'm not pregnant, and by the way, I'm not sleeping with Kevin, okay? I felt like I had to do like damage control, and it was super awkward. It was stupid. Guys, by the end of the week, Teresa was packing up her desk and being escorted off the property by our building security. She was gone. I can't tell you how many people in the office were so thankful that she was gone. The whole office dynamic changed the minute she walked out that door. Teresa had gotten so many people fired. I had seen it like with my own eyes, and like, Teresa, if she didn't like you, she would like almost, it was like a low-key threat, like, they listen to me more than they listen to you because I have seniority and they trust me and they trust my opinion. So like, if I don't like you, you know, don't be surprised if you're gone in a week. So peace out, Teresa. Sorry. That is the time that I got an old lady fired. Unfortunately. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give me a huge thumbs up to let me know. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please do so. Our family is ever growing. We are also growing into another channel. So if you guys don't know this already and you haven't been following me on my socials, you guys should know that I am working on a lifestyle channel while I'll be doing all my vlogs, all of my pregnancy videos, everything about the baby, everything about the house and house decorating and things like that. So I hope you guys are super excited. I'm really excited, so keep an eye out for it. I will be announcing when the channel goes live, and then you guys can head over there and subscribe. Please, it would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for coming to chill with me for story time today. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Peace out.